Welcome one and all to another edition of the Defo Show with Lubie here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Today, no Defo, just Lubie. Thank you to Water Cleanup of Florida. Leaks are the kind of thing that sneak up on you fast. You don't worry about them. You don't think much about them. And then they can be a major problem. Well, you don't have to worry about them. They don't have to be an issue because of Water Cleanup of Florida. Just give them a call, 954-579-0356, and they will take care of those leaks before you even know they exist. That's what they aim to do with over 60 years of combined experience between Michael, Robert, their entire team. The fact that you can reach out to them 24/7, 365, and they'll get back to you. They'll set up an appointment. They'll come out. They'll dry it. They'll fix it. And because of their licensed, insured, certified contractors, they will make sure it looks good as new. 954-579-0356. Don't let water issues, don't let leaks sneak upon you and make your life difficult. Keep your home, your office nice and peaceful with Water Cleanup of Florida. Check them out on their website, WCUFL.com. WCUFL.com. Also, check them out on the socials at Water Cleanup FL, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Water Cleanup FL. Water Cleanup of Florida. If you have the schmutz, we have the guts. It has been very gutsy down here around the Miami Dolphins. Around the Miami Heat, they started to look a little bit better. And the Miami Hurricanes had a win this weekend, but it has been tough. We talk with Mr. Swagger himself, Dave Hyde, who today releases his book, Swagger, with Jimmy Johnson and about Jimmy Johnson. We talk about Swagger, but we talk a lot about the Miami Dolphins, the Miami Heat, and the Miami Hurricanes right now with Dave Hyde on the Defo Show with Lubie here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. A guy that we have been big fans of for years. We've been privileged to talk to him throughout the years. And today is the day. We've talked about this book, I think for well over a year. We've talked about Swagger, based on, written with the one and only Jimmy Johnson, his co-writer, I would say the main author, because he is one of the great writers across America for a long time. Dave Hyde joins us today. So, Dave, congratulations. Today is the day.
Yeah, it's unwrapping of Swagger, and Jimmy's up in New York, actually, going on with Michael Strahan on Good Morning America this morning, and
you're with me.
But yeah, it's finally, we get to unwrap Swagger, and people get to read it. So it's a fun day for us.
And you and Jimmy will be at the Miami Book Fair this weekend, right? Isn't it this Saturday?
Yeah, on Thursday. Thursday at there's a reception,
okay,
and then we're going to do a talk and a Q&A at 8:00 at Miami-Dade downtown.
So how is things, because I know that there's been a lot around it between Jimmy and yourself, and we've talked about this book for well over a year. This has been a book highly anticipated. We know the pre-orders were out the roof. How has it gone so far, and how do you feel now that the day has finally come?
Well, all my energy was put into the writing of it,
okay.
And Jimmy talked, I typed. That was sort of our arrangement, and I'd go down to the Keys and every few weeks for 6-7 months, and we had a lot of fun doing it. Went fishing with them, of course, and various other things. But so the marketing of it was left to the publisher, and that's what they're handling now. And to be honest, I don't even know pre-sales or where they stand or any of that. So I'm interested. It was interesting to work with a big-time publisher. Scribner's is the high-end wing of Simon and Schuster, and
wow.
And it was a lot of fun working with the people who know what they're doing in marketing, unlike me. So it's interesting.
Well, this isn't your only book, and we've talked with you about this as well, and it's very pertinent today. Still Perfect, the untold story of the Miami Dolphins, as we celebrate 50 years of the Miami Dolphins. And the Dolphins today, or maybe last night, popped their champagne, as the story goes, as the Philadelphia Eagles are no longer undefeated, leaving the Dolphins the only team to ever go undefeated throughout an entire season, including the Super Bowl. What are your thoughts on that? Because I grew up a big Dolphin person, so this was a big deal to me. As I get older, I know a lot of people find it obnoxious. What are your thoughts on the whole idea of the getting excited over another team's failures because your record still is intact?
Well, I always cringe when people put it in that context, but yeah. What they get excited about is their team winning.
Yeah.
That they won in 72, they did something nobody else had. Even though in '72 it wasn't considered this, everybody, they went undefeated. And then in about '85, when the Dolphins played the undefeated Bears in the Orange Bowl, that was the first time it resonated nationally that, the Dolphins are the only team to go undefeated, and it's a big mark that the Bears are going after. And then it sort of crept up. Now, after 50 years, it's pretty remarkable that they did it, and they're still the only team to have done it. And what I always thought is they're celebrating their team more than
another team.
The failure of some other team. So, and when you look at what these guys, it's been written nationally that, they had nothing else to do with their lives. Go on with your lives. What these guys did with their lives was pretty amazing.
They've done great stuff.
Yeah, it's just amazing what their lives have been.
Well, what's interesting is, and we talked with Larry Zonka yesterday, and it was fitting right before the Eagles lost, and we talked about that. And I don't know if that team had fun like this team is having. This team is having fun at a level that I don't know if Don Shula in the 1970s was looking forward to. But the camaraderie that team had, and we've seen it, that team, and Zonk talked about how Shula pitted them against him to bring them together. Then they all became one big unit. To bring it to today, it feels like this team is having, in a way, like I haven't seen a professional team. They just have, it looks like they're having fun, like the offense, the defense, the special teams outside of Jason Sanders. It feels like they're just one unit, and it felt like that team had that camaraderie where to this day they're all brothers in arms. For the first time in a long time, the Miami Dolphins don't look like a fractured unit. They look like one team each and every week looking for victory.
Well, the biggest surprise, other than where Tua's stats are, is Mike McDaniel. I mean, what he's been able to do since he walked in the door, pretty much an unknown, right? I mean, nobody really knew him other than he has a sense of humor.
Yeah.
And but he's made, we talk about culture and all that, and nobody really talked about that much with Mike McDaniel because it wasn't your normal, tough guy coach culture that we're used to in football. But it's a very, open and honest type of culture where players can talk freely as far as what they really think, and that's developed into something that he's let players be themselves, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that's, I think one thing has led to another. Now, what he's really brought is a good offense, a good offensive system to match with some good talent. They now have offense, and look, they're a fun team. They're not only winning, but they're a fun team to watch because you're seeing, what Tyreek Hill is doing is opening up the whole offense, and then having Jalen Waddle beside him and Tua and a passing game, and so it's been a lot of fun to watch.
Well, and you just brought up the name that was, and I'll still never understand why he was such a lightning rod, Tua, because he seemed to be a good kid in every facet. It was clear that he didn't have talent around him. It was clear by the end that he had a coach that wasn't on his side. So, fine, maybe he's not great, but the vitriol that Tua brought, it was something that I never understood. The passion on both sides, too. Oh, he's the man. And it was like, no, he's not the man yet. Oh, he sucks. Well, no, he doesn't suck either. It's in the middle. And that's sort of where you resided. We talked to you before the season, and you weren't anti-Tua or pro-Tua. You're like, look, we'll see. And I liked your column the other day. Well, he's answered all of them. So whatever questions I had, they've been answered. Have they, Dave? Has Tua answered all the questions you have? Where do you put Tua now? What are your thoughts on the season Tua is having?
Yeah, my question always was the parade was ahead of what we see on the field.
Yeah.
There was a Tim Tebow, for lack of a better word, cult following to Tua that he's great. And my thought was, well, maybe he gets there, but let's wait till he gets there before, and this parade was like a mile ahead of what I was seeing on the field for the first 2 years. So, he didn't have talent, and it was odd that everybody's on the media, oh, critics, when the main critics were inside the Dolphin building. They tried to replace him twice, including this off season with the 45-year-old Tom Brady. So, look what he's done. And I wrote, I think my first line in the column was, it's unprecedented what he's doing here in year 3 after those first 2 years. Look, no one ever questioned whether he's a good guy or not. I mean, the way he answered questions the first 2 years with things swirling around him that I just mentioned was, how could you not root for him? But now we're seeing the results of okay, what can he do in a good offense, and what with good talent around him. And again, I think Mike McDaniel's system and what he's brought has set up, all of them on offense, and you see guys running free in ways that you just don't see, not only on Dolphins in previous years, but look around the league. You rarely see guys running free like this.
Well, no, and it feels like you rarely, outside of those, and look, and I get it, someone in our chat was like, well, they're winning, so that's why they're having fun. No, winning cures all. It's true. But, we haven't seen that here. Like, we haven't seen, it feels like the defense and the offense pick up off one another, feed off one another in a way we've been waiting for. And this last game was sort of it. The defense started slow again. The offense shot out like a shotgun. And then the defense caught up. And that second half was as good a second half as we've seen this team play as a unit in a long time. And it's got a lot of people to quit. Look, we were just hoping that they'd be a playoff contender. Well, when you look at the AFC, you see the Bills lose 2 in a row. And Josh Allen, there's something wrong with him, it feels like. The UCL nerve, whatever. When you look at the Ravens have had their struggles, and they feel like they're playing better football now. The Chiefs always have their issues with defense. What do you do with the Dolphins in the AFC that going into this year seemed very scary, but the Chargers have struggled at times. The Broncos and the Raiders are not what we thought they were. When you look at the Dolphins as a total in that conference, what do you do with them? Because a lot of people are using the SB term, and I haven't heard that since a man named Dan Marino was at the quarterback.
Yeah, I wrote a column last week too. I had mentioned Super Bowl. We're not, saying we're not afraid to talk about that around here. And I was like,
yep.
Yeah. Everybody has been for 20 years because there really hasn't been there hadn't been a team worth bringing that up with, right? I mean, the only topic was, wow, can they make the playoffs? Could they win a playoff game?
Yep.
But you look around the NFL, there's no great teams. Even Philadelphia before last night, before they lost, wasn't a team you say, do I really trust what in the playoffs against a really good defense or opponent? No, they're a good team. There's any of 8 teams can win right now, probably, and the Dolphins surprisingly are in that mix. Surprisingly, if we're looking from August. Now you look right now, and just think what can happen if, say, they get Byron Jones back in December.
Oof.
Say this defense solves a couple of the issues that they have, especially on the road. They're a completely different defense at home than on the road. They're averaging, I think, 32 points given up on the road and 17 at home. So something that they haven't traveled well. Does that change? Then we were into other issues really of, okay, how will this offense play in cold weather, windy weather if they have to do that? We'll probably see that in December coming up. So we're on to a next stage of questions, but yeah, the Dolphins are, and I can't believe I'm saying this considering the questions everybody, including me, had in August, but they're right there in the mix with everybody.
Well, and talking about a guy who's in the mix right now today, out everywhere you get your books. Swagger, Dave Hyde, Jimmy Johnson, definitely check that out. We've talked a lot about that and really excited about the book, and happy for Dave and Jimmy that it's finally out for the masses to enjoy. The one organization that has won down here consistently for the last 20-plus years, that not only is not scared to talk about titles, it is titles or bust for them, even in years that people don't think it is. Miami Heat have struggled a lot, But the last 3 games have been a little bit better. Tyler Hero hasn't played, so it's hurt them offensively. But last night was an interesting game as they were playing a team in the Suns who might not be dominant so far this year, but have been strong this year. And they scored. Bam was great. You got Kyle Lowry was involved. You had Martin involved. And then at the end, Jimmy Butler makes 2 key defensive plays to win. What are your thoughts of the Heat where they stand now at 7-7 as opposed to about a week ago when they were 4-7?
And it looked a lot better from last night when they're down, 10-11 in the fourth quarter with 8 minutes or so to go, and they come back and win. So, nobody questions how hard they play, how smart Spoelstra is, or that they'll improve through the year because of every Spoelstra team has improved through the year. The question is, do they need a power forward? Are they big enough to rebound? Can they play, Caleb Martin at the 4 or Lowry and Gabe together out on the at guards as they've done at times. So it'll be interesting to see. You look at the East right now, and look at Boston. I think's won 7 straight, and Milwaukee is healthy, which they weren't at the end of last year. And it's hard to see, to be honest, the Heat matching up against them and those teams in a series. But it seems like we always say that about the Heat. Last year, it comes down to Jimmy Butler missing a 3-pointer at the buzzer, or they're going to the NBA Finals. And like you said, that was a disappointment for them that they didn't go to the finals and didn't compete for a title. And that's the bar for the Heat. And, everybody else in town is just hoping to have a little success.
Well, and before we let you go, we usually touch on the Marlins and the Panthers. The one team we don't talk too much about with you, but I'm very intrigued by is the Hurricanes, talking about teams who had success and are trying to just have a little bit of what the Heat have had the last 2+ decades. Where are you with the Canes? Because I get it. Look, it's year 1. And as an FSU fan, I know what Norvell has been. And people looking at it now, and FSU's rolling. And they not only have a good record, but they are beating the teams they're supposed to beat big and playing tough with the ranked teams. Fine. But the first couple of years were rough. I know that. So I understand year 1. I totally get it. But when you pay a guy $80 million, when you give a guy a blank check to put together one of the more expensive staffs in the country, when you have the national media propping you up as a top 16 team coming into the year, when you have the national media putting your quarterback in Heisman discussions, that does set the bar higher than most first-year coaches. And we're seeing some other first-year coaches have some success. We're seeing some others fail. That's true. That are also big names. They got a win versus Georgia Tech. They feel a little bit better about themselves. Where are you with the Canes this season and your outlook with the Canes in the Mario Cristobal era?
Well, the money, $80 million and all that's the cost of doing business in the end.
Yeah.
So it was only relevant to me at Miami because they hadn't spent
They never
that
do
money
it, yeah.
before. So where I'm at is I thought they'd be better this year.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's sort of like, as you said, it's year 1. Everybody knew if Cristobal wins at Miami, and meaning wins big, it'll be the way, because he's a great recruiter and he brings in the players he wants. And that's not going to be where's he at November of his first year? Is he going to make it or not type of proposition? It's going to be a, 2+ years down the line of, okay, who's he got and how's he developing a program? And that's, you talk to people at Miami in August, and they were like, you could tell by the way they were addressing things off to the side that they didn't like this team, the talent or that they had, and which I didn't pick up on.
Mm-hmm.
And look, the way the Tyler Van Dyke, it was odd at the start how he was used. About the North Carolina game, you saw, okay, they decided to open things up, and you got a little back to what he was playing like last year. Then he gets hurt, but look, I thought they'd be better this year, but it's not like it's any conclusive referendum on where the Mario Cristobal era goes.
Well, and I get it, what they paid him and what he means to the program. He's not going anywhere, obviously, but the way the fans are, you know, South Florida fans as well as anyone, they can create a parade for someone before they're great, and they can also end their time before they're horrible. You know, do you think he gets the patience that is needed to turn around a program ever? Because it's not just this day and age. Back in the day, like Shula, coaches got time. Like Jimmy, you got time to fail a little before you could get better. Dabo Swinney was not good for the first few years with Clemson. You saw what he became. But we see coaches like Scott Frost struggling and getting chances, but them being out. We see Jeff Collins in Georgia Tech, who doesn't even have expectations, out in 2 to 3 years. See, in Wisconsin, where they won every year, but this year, their coach, Paul Chryst, is out. So Miami, even though we've talked with a lot of people who are like, look, they're not the same Miami, fans need to realize that they don't. You talk to Canes fans, it's 1992. Like that's how Canes see their team. And it's okay. As a Seminole fan, I'm the same way. It's taken me a long time to accept, wow, we made a bowl. Yay. Like, it took me a long time to get here where I'm accepting the small victories. Canes fans, for the most part, don't do that. Do you think Cristobal gets the patience that he will need to turn this program around?
I don't think there's any doubt. And I don't know about the fans.
Yeah.
Because Miami fans typically have been the loudest fans who don't show up. You know, so, but, you know, look at Dan Radakovich, was brought in with Mario, and he knows what it takes to build a big time program from his Clemson time, obviously. And so I have no doubt he's going to get all the support he needs internally, and not just, you know, words and emotions and all that. But he's going to get, you know, money and substantive things that he needs to build a program. So my thought always has been, if this doesn't work with Mario, then maybe Miami just can't be the type of program that as you say, Hurricane fans are in 1992, and they are in their mind in some form. So, I mean, if it can't work with Mario, then Miami's got, I think, a larger problem.
The one and only Dave Hyde, for over 2 decades, I think we're into 3 decades, has been down here as a writer for the Sun Sentinel, South Florida Voice, and has covered pretty much all the major and even smaller sporting regimes down here. Covers the Dolphins, covers the Canes, covers the Heat. Dolphins, he had some questions about Tua, and he says they've been answered. We'll see how long Tua keeps it going. Right now, Tua's hot. The Miami Heat struggled a lot this season, but again, with the Miami Heat, you never know. You can't write them off. The fact they've won 3 in a row, Jimmy Butler's playing really well. Hero was playing well before he got hurt. Bam had a dominant game yesterday versus a really good Phoenix Suns team. And the Suns came out there. The Suns had a lead in the 4th, and the Heat came back. And behind 2 great defensive plays by Jimmy Butler, won. Nice sign for the Heat. They are 7-7 now. They are sitting there at 500. It is a long season. And coming off a Eastern Conference Finals, almost NBA Finals appearance. They have older guys. It's going to take them a little bit of time maybe to get fully healthy. You saw Kyle Lowry be involved. You saw Caleb Martin for the first time, really one of the first times this year be involved. It was a nice team effort and a nice 113-112 victory over the Phoenix Suns. Hopefully that keeps rolling. They are on a 3-game win streak. Jimmy Butler was like, when they beat the Hornets the first time of those 2 games, it's a win streak. It's 1 for us. Well, no, now it is a win streak. 3 games. So sitting at 500 feels a lot better than sitting at 4-7. And the Miami Hurricanes, we'll see. I mean, they're work in progress. There was more expectations than what you're seeing from year 1, but again, it is year 1. And Canes fans and the higher-ups will have to be patient, because if it doesn't work with Mario, who will it work with? Mario was the guy that a lot of us, including myself, didn't think the Canes could get. Didn't think they'd pony up for it. They opened up the pocketbooks. They opened up the purse strings, paid him, paid the staff, and that's really it. If it doesn't work with him, who's going to work with? Dave said it, and it's true. So you have to give him time. His thing is recruiting, right? He's a great recruiter. People question his coaching abilities, but he's a great recruiter. Well, 1 class doesn't do it. This will be a 2nd class. Right now it's sitting in the top 10. We'll see if hovering around 500 will hold on to that class. A lot of the kids say they're in. We shall see. But that's what will turn it around for the Canes, is his recruiting and bringing in the talent and then coaching them to the style of play he wants to see. We shall see how their season wraps up. We'll see how the recruiting wraps up. If you want to see more of us, check us out each and every morning, 7 to 9 on South Florida Live. Just Google South Florida Live. Google The Defo Show with Lubie. Check us out there. Check us out on our national podcast, The Believe Network. We talked with Zonk himself, Larry Zonka, yesterday as the Dolphins celebrate that 50-year anniversary of the perfect season. They celebrate the Philadelphia Eagles losing Monday night to end their perfect season. We talk with Larry Zonka, The Believe Network, BLEAV.com. Search after hours. And you can check us out most days, our South Florida content right here, The Defo Show with the Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Since day one of Old School, we've had Catholic Health Services be part of our family. They are recognized as the quintessential rehab facility in the Southeast for strokes, but it goes well beyond strokes because Catholic Health Services is in the community of South Florida to help the community stay healthy, and if they're not healthy, get them healthy and get them back on their feet quicker than they could have ever expected. They do it every single day. It's step and repeat, 24/7, Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.